space. Uh, this is what's going to work with your Cricut Explore and Explore Air machines. You need to create an account in the Cricut design space, and once you do that, you'll be able to start designing your projects. So what you need to do would be to log on, and you would be on your home screen and you can create a new project. You could also create new projects here. Let's say new project. Actually, let's just leave that. So we'll end up with this is our canvas. It's a blank canvas. You can choose different canvases, like if you went to this here set canvas, you can choose any of the templates that they actually have already loaded up on the Cricut. For instance, if you choose the banner, you'll see this won't print or cut. This is just so you can visualize what you're going to create. And when you're here, you can hit the canvas over here. It'll show you what type you're doing, and you can put how many of these little pennants that you want, the size, medium, and you can even change the color. Actually, these shapes will cut. I'm sorry, I correct myself because we chose the banners. But if you didn't choose a banner, let's say you chose a t-shirt, then the t-shirt obviously won't cut. It just shows you pretty much the shirt so that you can put things on it. And again, here you can choose the size so that you get the right aspect, and you can change the color of the shirt. I prefer to work with a blank canvas. It gives me a little bit more flexibility, because a lot of the times what I'm creating isn't going to be on this library as a template. So I have a blank project here, and obviously it's blank, so we can't really do anything to it. It's blank. We have to put images and text on it and create and design whatever it is that we're going to do. Now the first thing is obviously we need to put images on there. So the first way that you can do that is by going Insert Image. This takes you to your Cricut library, where there's thousands of projects and images that you can use. Some of them are going to be free. Like you could go to categories, you sort them out like free this week, and it'll show you all the things that you're available to use. It'll say free of charge, and you can click on here to give you information as to what it is. Okay, so every week it changes, but there's lots there that you can use, and you can upload them onto your Cricut design space. So let's just choose one. Let's see. Obviously it's coffee month, so let's choose a cup. That'll be cute. And you insert the image, and it's here. Okay, and you can resize this, and this will cut your, let's see, it'll cut all the layers. As you can see, there's different layers. Here you can see the layers by clicking on this eye to see or not see what you don't want. So if we click here, you won't see that layer of it. If you click here, you won't see that layer. Click here, you won't see that. So these are the colors of the layers that the machine will cut, and you're going to have to paste them together. That's one way to use your machine, is to insert images. If you don't want it, click off. Other images, you can subscribe to the Cricut Access. It costs $7.99 a month if you pay for a full year's subscription. I believe it's about $90-something. Or you can pay monthly. It's $9.99 a month, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. Anything with an A on it would be included in the subscription. If it doesn't have an A, it'll have a price, and it'll also tell you what kind of image it is. Like this is a print and cut image, meaning it'll print on your printer and then cut on your Cricut machine. They have prices. You can load them onto your canvas, and you don't have to pay for them until you're actually cutting them. So that's another option. And you can also use cartridges that you can buy at the Cricut store or on Amazon.com, or if you have old Cricut machines, you can use those. You just have to link them. You insert them into your machine. You come over here and it says link cartridges, and it'll link it to your Design Space account. So that's one way of putting on an image that way. Another way would be to upload your own. When you upload your own image, you go to this screen. You can upload something that you have saved on your computer. It has to be an image file like JPEG, GIF, PNG, BMP, SVG, or DXF files. And what it does is you pick your image. You browse through your computer, find your image files. Let's do the graduation cap. It'll come on here. It'll give you the options. Now, it'll give you options on how you want to create this file to use. There's a simple image. It's basically if you have black and white or really simple images. Moderately complex, if you want to create images that have a little bit more color. And complex images is going to be a lot of layers of color. It's going to be really tedious, but it's doable. I like to try and get images that are simple. Saves a lot of time. So here is our image that we uploaded. Now if we just left it alone and continued, your machine would cut out a square. That's it, because this is what it sees, is this entire image. Obviously that's not what we want to do, so we want to take away from this image. And what we want to take away is areas that we don't want cut or printed by the machine. So we click on those areas like that, all the white, because we just want to do the graduation cap. So we'll click on those areas. Can even use this eraser and erase. It'll work just like an eraser and erase whatever it is that you don't want to show up. So you have two tools there to do this. You hit continue. You'll have two choices now. You can either save it as a print and save, meaning again it'll print on your home printer and then it'll cut on your Cricut machine, or you can just save it as a cut image. Either way works. Then you name your image, and then you can put tags so you can find it later on if you want to use it for future projects. And you hit save. It'll show up and it's now part of your Cricut library that is saved on your Cricut Design Space account. So now you highlight that, you put it insert image, and you've uploaded and created and inserted an image that you have made. It's another way of putting in an image for your project. And another way is this insert shape. When you click on this, the submenu pops up and there's several images or shapes that you can choose from. You can also score. Scoring means you'll get a line. It's basically a crease line. And this is where you would fold it if you were creating a card. This is a crease line where it'll show you where to fold the card, and you'll end up with a really nice crisp fold. But in order to use this, you're going to need the scoring pen. It doesn't come with the Cricut. You would have to purchase it separately. It does come in an accessory kit that has several tools that you can use when working on projects with your Cricut machine. Okay, the other things are shapes. So let's put in a square. So here's a square. This is a shape. We can change its size. We can manipulate it any way we want. We'll work on that later when we work on this side of the screen. Okay. The last thing you can add would be text. So if you click on text, this text box shows up, and you type in whatever text that you want. Actually, let's type congrats, being it's obviously a graduation thing. Okay, so now you have this, and it'll move as one image, and you can move it around and size it up, do whatever you want to do. Okay, so now we have three things on our canvas. We have a text, we have a shape, and we have an image. The next thing we want to do would be to edit them. Now, you highlight the image that you want to edit. When working in shapes and images, you have two choices, and even text. You can change the size by dragging on the corner arrows. You can rotate it this way or that way by dragging on this arrow right here. And this lock here locks in the aspect. the size aspect. If you don't want to be locked into a particular ratio, you can unlock it and you can change the width, the length, anything you want. You're not stuck to one particular ratio of size. Okay, but you can also do that here on the edit screen. The width, the height, you can create mirror images. Basically, you flip it around, flip it, or you flip it upside down. You can do that. You can rotate it this way, and you can change the position on the canvas. Now remember, you'll be cutting these out, so really it doesn't matter. You're just really using the canvas to visualize your project and see how it's going to end up later on. So in the layers, you'll also have a choice of different actions or attributes that you can put to assign to each image, like clicking on the cap. Okay, if you put that in, remember, you won't see it anymore. It'll still be there. It's not deleted. You just can't see it. If you click on this little symbol right here, this menu, the layer attribute menu pops up. This is where you can change the color. So let's change it to red. You can also change what you're going to do with this image. You can cut it, meaning the machine will cut out this shape and you will have a graduation cap. You can write it. Now writing is a little bit different. Writing means the machine will write or draw your image or text onto the media that you feed into the Cricut machine. It'll only write if you load in a marking pen or a marker or a pen that is available from the Cricut store, or you can use some other ones, but you just have to make sure it fits on the housing that's attached to the machine itself. Whatever you use, you just got to make sure that it'll click in. It won't actually click. If you're using a Cricut product, it'll click because it's made for the machine. But if you're using a different product like a Sharpie or something, I've heard it works. I haven't really tried it, but you won't hear the click. But you got to make sure that the tip of your pen or marker will touch the media that you're going to be writing on, just so that it doesn't smudge or drag, or that it even writes, because if it's too high, it won't even write. Another thing you can do would be to score, which means your scoring pen that we talked about earlier would just really kind of score this image onto your media. Okay. And the last choice that you have would be to print. Now this is not to be confused with writing. This is printing on your printer at home. What this does is it'll send this image, you'll put paper or cardstock into your printer will print this and come out with the image printed on white. You have to use white paper or cardstock or whatever, and then it'll also have these guidelines that your Cricut machine will scan. You take that paper, put it on a cutting mat, and load it onto your Cricut machine, and it'll cut out the image that was printed on that piece of paper or cardstock. That's one thing that you can do. So in this case, why don't we just leave this as a cut? Okay, so the machine will cut this out. Now let's work on this. Let's make it a little bit bigger. We'll use this as like our card or sign base that we're going to be gluing things on, like this graduation cap. Okay. Now another thing you can do in this layers is 3 more things. You can attach, weld, flatten, and slice 2 or more images together. In this case, you would highlight this, press down and hold down the control key, and click on the square, so now they're joined. If you slice it, what'll happen is this. It'll slice out part of that image, slice all your images, and so now you have a whole bunch of different pieces of images that you can use. So it'll slice it out of your card base or whatever shape that you did. That would be slice. We don't want to slice this image. I'm just doing that to show you what it does. So, okay. Another thing that you can do would be to weld. Okay, we're back to our original. You can weld this by clicking that. Hold down your control key, click on the square, and you weld them together. So the color changes. So now that cap becomes part of the square, and it'll cut out this whole piece just like the way you see it. We don't want to do that either. Not right now. It's really good for making stencils and things, and so is the slice. But we're not doing that. Okay, another thing that you can do is attach. I know it sounds kind of the same as weld or slice. It really isn't. What it is now you have this image, and when you cut it, yeah, it's all together, but it'll cut it as this part of the square, and it'll cut this image out right here, and you'll end up with two separate images, and there'll be a chunk missing out of your square. Sort of kind of like the slice, not really. So we'll just attach that and end up with our original image, hopefully. Okay, let's just change this back to red so you can see it. It's a little bit clearer. Okay. Now, when you go to editing for fonts, it works a little bit differently. You can change the alignment. That's if you've got maybe 2 or 3 lines of text, you can align them left, right, or center. You can distribute layers, and you can isolate letters as well. Okay, meaning you've ungrouped them. They're now different. You can work on each letter pretty much on its own, because you're not going to be able to move them all around. You can also ungroup them here, and you can regroup images together at the same time. So, now another thing you can do in edit when you're in the text, you can change the font. You have several different ways of changing the font. There's all fonts, which is the system fonts that are already saved in your computer, and they're the Cricut ones, and you have a choice between single layer ones. These are really great if you're going to print. And then has a writing style. That's just a way of sorting through the different fonts. Cricut fonts, some will come with the subscription if you're subscribing. Those are the ones that you'll see the letter A. Let's see, where'd they go? See if it has a little A, it's part of the subscription, so if you're paying the monthly subscription, you can use that. If it doesn't have it, you're going to have to pay for it separately as you use them. Now, the system fonts are those that you have already on your computer, and these are free. There's no charge. If you need some cool fonts, check out dafont.com. That's DAFONT.com. They have a lot of free fonts that you can download and install. It becomes part of your font library in your computer. It's really cool, and it's free. So let's choose a font for this one. Let's choose this one. And that's part of my library that that's on my computer. So how come you're not doing it? Okay. So we've got that. So now you can also change the spacing and the size. You can do it all here, or you can do it by clicking and dragging on the arrows. Okay, so now we've got 3 things, and we know how to work with them. So what we can do with the layers, when it comes to text, you highlight the text. Again, you can choose cut, write, score, or print. Just like you do with images, you can change the color of your image, just like that. So now, if we just leave it at cut, it will cut out every piece, which we will then have to glue each letter onto here. Or we can write it on, but I would prefer to print it. So what we need to do to print and then cut would be to click on the text, hold down the control key, click on the square, and click on flatten. See, what this does now is it stuck the text onto the square, and your printer will print the word onto a white cardstock, and then it'll also color in the square into whatever color. In this case, it would color it black. Then you take that printed page, put it on a mat, load it into the Cricut, and it'll cut the square. So you'll end up with this square with the word congrats printed on. And then you will load in another piece of cardstock, and in red, if you want it red or whatever color, and it'll cut this out, which then later on you can, once you have all these pieces cut, you can paste that on that way and be really creative. You can embellish it, you can add glitter, you can foil it, you can do so many things with it. Add ribbons, a lot of things. You really can get very creative with this. Okay, another thing I want to show you, these top buttons here pretty much work like your Photoshop or other editing menu, where you can cut this, whatever you're highlighting, it's cut, or you can paste it, you can copy it. So now, if you copy it, pretty much like duplicating, I guess. Oh, and then you paste. Okay, extra step. See now there, where you could just actually duplicate it from here. But we don't need it, so we'll just delete them all. Okay, and then you can arrange it so that you can see what you're looking at. So if you want to move this to the, if you don't want to see this, you can move it to the back just by clicking there. Or if you want to see it, move it forward. Okay, but remember, this is just really for you to design, because once you get them cut out, you can pretty much rearrange them the way you want. Then you can also save it here, in which case if you go here, you'll be taken here, you'll name your project, and you can save it. It'll be saved onto your online Design Space account. And then when you're ready to print, you hit go, and you make sure that your machines are on, your Cricut machine, your printer, and that everything is configured together and synced, and you're good to go. So I hope that kind of gave you an idea of how you can use the Design Space to make some projects. I mean, it's really cool. Takes a little getting used to, but once you do, I promise you, you'll love it. I love mine. I've made many different things, so many things you can do, and it's really fun. I like to take my time and just really make stuff. Don't necessarily print it out, but I have it there ready to go whenever I want to use it, and I'm sure you'll love it. I hope you tune in. We'll be making more videos to maybe make stencils and create some other projects and do other fun stuff with your Cricut and maybe even some other machines, because really crafting gets addictive.